Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about something that is not often embraced in our world of noise and constant interaction: the power of being alone. It is a paradox, you see. Alone, we often feel vulnerable. We fear that in our solitude we may lose ourselves. But the truth is, it is only when we are alone that we truly begin to find ourselves. Let us first understand the difference between solitude and loneliness. Loneliness is a feeling, a sense of isolation imposed upon us by our circumstances or our mind. It is the emptiness that we fear. But solitude is a choice. It is the deliberate act of being with ourselves, of sitting in silence, and in this silence we come face to face with our deepest truths. Being alone does not mean being abandoned. It means that we have been gifted with a space to connect with our true nature. Solitude is not a void. It is a wellspring of profound potential. In that space, we begin to hear the quiet whispers of our inner wisdom. The world's distractions fade, and we can listen to the subtle voice of our own heart. It is in this silence that we are most capable of understanding who we truly are, beyond the labels and roles the world imposes upon us. The power of being alone is in the empowerment it brings. When we choose to be alone, we are not retreating from the world, we are embracing freedom. No longer are we bound by the expectations of others. No longer are we caught in the tide of societal judgments. In that solitude, we discover that we are the architects of our own existence. It is in this aloneness that we are free to explore, to experiment, to grow, and to transform. Being alone also nurtures inner peace. The noise of the world, the clamor of everyday life often drowns out the quiet rhythm of our own being. But when we are alone, we learn to listen to that rhythm. We learn to be in harmony with our inner world. In solitude, we cultivate an oasis of peace that is unaffected by external chaos. And this peace is not fragile. It is a deep, unshakable force that arises from within. Now, let us not forget the true magic of solitude, the creation of the self. It is in the quiet, unhurried moments of being alone that we craft the person we wish to be. We reflect on our choices, we examine our desires, and we create a vision for our lives. When we are alone, we are not in the presence of others' judgments or distractions. It is in this sacred space that we build the foundation of our own identity, untainted by external pressures. And finally, the power of being alone lies in its ability to deepen our connection with others. It is only when we are at peace with ourselves, when we have filled our own cup, that we can genuinely offer something of value to the world. The more we understand and embrace our own solitude, the more we are able to connect with others, not from a place of need or dependence, but from a place of abundance and authenticity. So, my friends, do not fear solitude. Do not resist being alone. In solitude, there is great power. It is the power of self-discovery, of inner peace, of freedom, and of true connection. Embrace it and you will realize that you are never truly alone. Thank you. When we speak of solitude, it is essential to first understand what it truly means and how it differs from loneliness. To most, the idea of being alone may conjure up feelings of emptiness or isolation, leading one to believe that to be alone is inherently negative. However, this is a misunderstanding, for solitude and loneliness are not synonymous. In fact, they are quite different in nature, with one offering deep self-reflection and peace, while the other can lead to a sense of lack and despair. Loneliness is an emotional state, a feeling of disconnection from others. It is not merely being physically alone, it is a painful sensation of being unimportant, unseen, or abandoned. This experience often arises from a lack of social interaction or the absence of deep, meaningful connections. It can also result from feeling misunderstood, unwanted, or isolated from the world around you. Loneliness tends to occur when we feel that something is missing in our lives. Whether it is love, companionship, or a sense of belonging, it speaks to a discontent, a yearning for something that we feel is beyond our reach. Loneliness is often an involuntary condition, a state of being that we seek to escape because it makes us feel incomplete. On the other hand, solitude is a voluntary choice, a state of being alone with oneself. It does not come from a sense of emotional scarcity, but rather from a desire for clarity, peace, and connection with our inner selves. Solitude is a space where one can reflect, think deeply, and recharge. It is not about isolation in the sense of pushing others away or rejecting the world. It is about embracing the opportunity to be with oneself without the noise, distractions, and influences of society. Solitude is sacred, a retreat that allows us to connect with our true nature without the constant external stimulation that pulls us in all directions. In solitude, we are given the space to hear our own thoughts clearly, to understand our desires, fears, and aspirations without being drowned out by the expectations or judgments of others. While loneliness can feel like an emotional burden, solitude can be seen as a gift. In solitude, there is no pressure to perform, no obligation to meet the needs of others. It is a time when we can truly be ourselves without the masks or roles that we often wear in public. The freedom that comes with solitude is liberating. It allows us to be honest with ourselves, to examine our lives, and to gain insights that we may not have noticed in the busyness of everyday existence. It is in solitude that we can cultivate self-awareness, explore our creative potential, and gain clarity about who we are and what we want out of life. There is a profound beauty in solitude, for it provides the conditions necessary for growth and self-discovery. It is a time when we can confront our inner world without the distractions of the outer world. In solitude, we are not required to live up to anyone else's standards or expectations. We can simply exist, and in that existence, we find a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. It is in those moments alone that we often find answers to the questions that have long puzzled us. However, it is important to remember that while solitude can be a sanctuary for the soul, it is not about fleeing from others or retreating into isolation permanently. It is about balancing the need for connection with the necessity of being alone. Just as our bodies need rest and nourishment, so too does our mind and spirit need time to recharge and reflect. The key is to recognize when we need solitude and when we need connection. Too much isolation can lead to a sense of loneliness, while too much social interaction can overwhelm and drain us. In the end, solitude is an opportunity for growth, for rediscovery, and for cultivating a deeper relationship with oneself. Loneliness, on the other hand, is often a symptom of disconnection, a feeling of emptiness that is born out of unfulfilled emotional needs. While loneliness is something to be avoided or addressed, solitude is a precious tool for self-exploration and healing. By understanding the difference between the two, we can learn to embrace solitude as a powerful force in our lives, one that allows us to connect with ourselves and the world in a more meaningful way. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of personal growth, and it is often in solitude that we find the space to cultivate this vital aspect of our being. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, the external world demands our attention, and we can easily lose sight of ourselves. The constant distractions, work, relationships, societal expectations, drown out the quiet voice within us, making it difficult to understand who we truly are. It is in solitude that we are afforded the rare opportunity to turn inward, to disconnect from the noise, and to become deeply aware of our thoughts, emotions, and desires. When we are alone, we are no longer engaged in the performance of roles we play in the presence of others. There are no expectations to meet, no judgments to be made about us. It is here, in the stillness of solitude, that we can strip away the layers of personas we built over time. In solitude, we stand face to face with the truth of our existence, free from the distractions that shape our self-home in the eyes of others. There is nothing to hide behind, no social mask to wear. We are simply ourselves, with all our complexities, fears, strengths, and insecurities. This honesty with oneself is a critical step in understanding who we truly are beyond our external identities. As we spend time alone, we are given the chance to observe our thoughts without interference. In the quiet of solitude, our mind often reveals its deepest concerns and patterns. We begin to notice the stories we tell ourselves, both empowering and limiting. Are we constantly filled with self-doubt, or are we embracing our potential? Do we view the world through a lens of optimism, or are we consumed by negativity? By observing our thoughts in solitude, we can begin to understand the nature of our internal dialogue and how it influences our actions, decisions, and emotions. This awareness allows us to break free from habitual thought patterns that no longer serve us, creating space for new perspectives and healthier mindsets. Solitude also provides an opportunity to tune into our emotions on a deeper level. In the quiet moments when we are alone, we are not overwhelmed by the feelings of others, nor are we preoccupied with performing emotional labor in relationships. This creates a unique space to explore our own emotions with greater clarity. We can ask ourselves difficult questions. Why do we feel the way we do? What is the source of our anger, sadness, or joy? Are we suppressing any emotions that need to be acknowledged and expressed? Through this exploration, we become more in tune with our emotional landscape, and this awareness allows us to better manage our feelings in the future. Moreover, solitude provides the perfect environment for introspection, an examination of the direction our lives are heading. Are we living authentically? Are we following our true passions? Or are we living in accordance with what others expect of us? In the absence of external pressure, we are free to explore our desires, our goals, and the values that guide us. We may uncover long-buried dreams that we have neglected, or recognize paths we have been avoiding. This reflective process is essential in helping us align our lives with our true selves. It is only when we are alone that we can fully assess whether the life we are living is the one we truly want. As we grow in self-awareness through solitude, we also begin to recognize the patterns that govern our behavior. We notice how we react to stress, how we handle conflict, and how we approach challenges. We may find that certain triggers consistently bring out our worst behaviors, or that certain situations bring us peace and clarity. With this awareness, we can consciously choose to respond in ways that reflect our true values rather than reacting out of habit or fear. We can begin to break free from old conditioning and step into a more authentic way of being. Through solitude, we also gain a deeper understanding of our needs and desires. We learn what nourishes our soul and what drains us. We understand which relationships support our well-being and which ones might be toxic. In this space of quiet reflection, we are able to distinguish between our authentic wants and the desires imposed on us by society or others. This knowledge empowers us to make choices that are in alignment with our true selves, rather than merely responding to external influences. Self-awareness through solitude is not a one-time event but a continuous practice. It is a journey of unfolding where we peel back layers and discover new facets of our inner world. In solitude, we are not only confronted with who we are, but also given the tools to become who we wish to be. This process is essential for anyone seeking a deeper understanding of themselves and a more purposeful life. In the end, it is through solitude that we realize our potential and step into the fullness of who we are meant to be. Silence, in its essence, is often misunderstood as mere absence, an emptiness that lacks meaning or significance. However, true silence is far from being a void. It is a powerful force, full of potential, depth, and wisdom. When we speak of silence, we do not refer to the absence of sound alone. Rather, we refer to a profound state of stillness that allows us to listen deeply, not only to the world around us, but also to the very core of our being. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of understanding, a space in which we can hear the things that cannot be expressed in words. In the noiseful world we live in, silence can be a rare commodity. The constant chatter of conversations, the hum of machines, the endless flow of information. These external noises often overwhelm us, making it difficult to connect with our inner world. Yet, when we step into silence, whether by choice or necessity, we are granted the rare opportunity to tune in to something much more profound. It is in this silence that we begin to hear the whispers of our own thoughts, our feelings, and our true desires. In silence, we experience a profound shift in our perception. The usual external distractions fade, and we are left with a pure, unfiltered experience of the present moment. This stillness is like a mirror, reflecting our innermost thoughts and emotions without distortion. It is in the absence of noise that we are able to witness the patterns of our mind and become more attuned to the subtle workings of our consciousness. Often we are so caught up in the external world that we fail to notice the internal turmoil or calm that exists within us. Silence allows us to observe ourselves from a distance, without the interference of external influences, and this observation leads to a deeper understanding of who we are. Silence also has the power to clarify our thoughts. In the stillness, the mind becomes free from the clutter of information and external stimulation, allowing us to think more clearly and deeply. The constant noise we are exposed to throughout our day can cloud our ability to make sound decisions, to understand our own feelings, and to process our experiences. When we embrace silence, we create the space needed for reflection, for integration, and for insight. Ideas that once seemed distant or unclear begin to take shape in the quiet, and solutions to problems that once felt insurmountable appear more clearly. It is as though the noise of the world, which constantly bombards us, creates a fog that clouds our ability to see things as they truly are. In silence, that fog lifts, and we are left with the clarity we need to move forward. But silence is not just an absence of sound or distraction, it is also a language in itself. In a world where we are often overwhelmed by the need to speak, to explain, and to justify ourselves, silence provides a powerful form of communication. There are moments when words are insufficient, when they fall short of expressing the depth of our experiences. Silence, however, speaks volumes. It speaks in the pauses between words, in the space where understanding transcends explanation. It is in the quiet moments between two people, when words are unnecessary, that the deepest connections are often formed. True communication is not only about what is said, but also about what is felt in the silence. Furthermore, silence has a way of revealing the underlying truths of our existence. In our busy lives, we often fill every moment with activity and noise, seeking constant stimulation. Yet, it is in the stillness that we confront the deeper questions of life. Who are we beyond the roles we play? What is the purpose of our existence? These questions arise naturally in the quiet, where we are not distracted by the demands of the world. Silence allows us to explore these existential mysteries with an open heart and a clear mind. It is in these moments of silence that we come face to face with the answers we seek, not in the form of grand revelations, but as quiet realizations that gradually unfold within us. Connection is the thread that binds us all together, yet it is often misunderstood. We tend to think of connection as something external, something that happens when we interact with others, share a conversation, or build relationships. While these are valid expressions of connection, the root of true connection lies in something much deeper. Our ability to connect with ourselves. The essence of meaningful connection begins when we are able to understand and embrace our own inner world. The more we are at peace with ourselves, the more authentically we can engage with others. This connection to our own being creates a solid foundation for all other relationships. Without this foundation, our interactions with others are often driven by unmet needs or insecurities. We seek validation, approval, or companionship to fill a perceived emptiness within ourselves. But when we are truly in tune with who we are, our relationships shift from a place of dependency to one of mutual understanding and respect. True connection with others arises when we are comfortable in our own silence and solitude. In these quiet moments, we learn not only to listen to ourselves, but also to truly listen to others. When we are disconnected from ourselves, we often listen to others with the intention of responding, analyzing, or judging. But when we are grounded in self-awareness, we can listen with empathy, presence, and an open heart. We are not merely hearing words, we are feeling emotions, understanding unspoken needs, and connecting with the deeper essence of another person.